1 in 3. That's how many American men will face physical violence, sexual assault, or stalking by an intimate partner. 1 in 3 women worldwide will endure physical or sexual abuse, most often by someone they know. But domestic abuse isn't just bruises. It's manipulation, it's fear, it's control that seeps into every part of your life. I'm Ingrid Dutton, and I survived it. Then I created 1 in 3 so no one else has to suffer in silence. Each week, we break that silence together. Occasionally joined by survivors, loved ones, and experts, we talk about the pain, yes, but also about the healing, resilience, and the fight to reclaim your life. This podcast is more than awareness, it's a lifeline. And a reminder, you are seen, you are heard, you are never alone. Search for 1 in 3 wherever you get your podcasts, because every voice matters and every story deserves to be heard.
The poet John Boyle O'Reilly wrote this, and to honor Crispus Attucks, who is the lead and voice of that day, the first to defy and the first to die was Maverick Carr and Gray. Call it riot or revolution, or mob or crowd as you may. Such deaths have been seeds of nations. Such lives shall be honored for aye. And this is written by Captain Preston. None of them was a hero. The victims were troublemakers who got more than they deserved. The soldiers were professional who shouldn't have panicked. The whole thing shouldn't have happened.
Why does that intro make me feel like this is going to be sad?
I mean, there are very sad points to it. And I guess it all depends on what perspective you choose to take as to who you feel's in the right.
Oh.
I took a deep dive down a rabbit hole.
Okay, so don't tell me which side you picked. I never asked you.
Well,
which side?
I don't pick a side, actually.
Did you pick a side on the Hatfield and McCoys?
I did, and I don't. It was the one who had the most casualties. That was the family I picked.
Okay,
that was the
McCoys.
Okay. Did you pick a side?
Did you pick a side in the Pearl Harbor episode?
Really? No, wait, did you pick a side in the Hatfield and McCoys?
Yeah, I picked the Hatfields.
Why?
Well, again, I left a lot of information out, but I felt like they tried to do things in a diplomatic way. I think the way I told it was just, I compiled all the dramatic events that were here at the dramatic event, not all the things leading up to things. I don't know, and I just like the name Devil Ants. Really, that might have had a lot to do with it. Anyway, welcome to another situation.
Hey, I'm Jessica.
Congratulations to all of you for getting through that first couple of minutes of nonsensical nonsense.
Are you not going to introduce yourself?
No, I'm going to leave it hanging. You guys can try to figure it out.
Process of elimination. Okay, there's actually 2 corrections. One's a correction and then one's a addition. So when I did my correction last week, when I said I want to do my correction of the Packers against the Bears, whatever rivalry. So I said the Packers against Green Bay, and you didn't catch it and I didn't catch it.
Nope.
So obviously misspoke. And then, our dad is visiting me because I was supposed to have surgery.
Visiting?
He's visiting me because I was supposed to have surgery. I'm not going to pretend to do an accent on the 7th. And my surgery was postponed until the 21st because my surgeon got COVID. So thank you, surgeon, for postponing me, I guess. So now my dad's just hanging out for the next 2 weeks. And it's been good because my kids have been homesick all week long. My son's been home every single day. My daughter's been home every day except for Monday. And then now my husband tested positive for the flu today. And yeah, so I have now my dad is complaining of a cough. So I have 4 sick children. I don't know how I am immune to all of this. Like I haven't caught any of it.
Dad's illness isn't real.
No, I hear his cough. He didn't have a cough when he first got here, and now he does. So that part's legit. But anyway, so our dad actually listened to our Pearl Harbor episode, the first episode that I think he's listened to. And he brought up the fact, he's like, did I ever tell you how your grandpa made chief? And I was like, yeah, of course you did. And then he's like, did I? And so I explained how he made chief. And he's like, oh, okay. Yeah, you were listening. I'm like, yeah. I know, Dad. It's cool history. So I thought I would share this with y'all so our granddad was flying in one of his planes and he was an ordnanceman, which meant that he dealt with the bombs. And one of the bombs got stuck in the bomb bay door, which are like the flaps underneath the belly that open up and like the bombs drop out of. Like everyone's seeing like war videos, like that's the bomb bay door. So one of the bombs was stuck and our grandpa went, and I don't know if it's foolishly or smart. He didn't die, so I guess it wasn't foolishly, but he kicked it out to get it out of the harness. And so because of that, our grandpa, why am I saying granddad? Our grandpa was offered either a promotion to chief or he could get the Navy Cross, which is one of the most elite medals out there. So elite. Like the amount of people that have the Navy Cross, we could probably count on 5 people's fingers and toes. Like it's just a really small amount. I'm not really sure how many.
Is Dad one of those people?
Dad does not have a Navy Cross. Are you kidding me?
No. Counting on fingers and toes. Is Dad one of those people?
He was trying to open up a package for my daughter, and I was like, it would help. And he's like, what? And I'm like, another thumb.
Quick sidebar. Our dad blew off half of his thumb playing with cherry bombs. So kids, don't play with cherry bombs.
Don't play with fireworks. Not a fun thing.
Nope.
So anyway, so they gave that that choice to our grandpa, and he had a family to support, and so he chose the money and over the accommodations. Nope.
Accolades.
Ooh. Accolades.
And if you listened to our last episode, you would hear that he and our grandmother had 10 children. So that was quite a bit of mouths to feed. I guess it was a smart.
And imagine if the children were like our dad and held on to cherry bombs and blew their thumb off. Like imagine what the rest of them
medical
like.
bills alone.
Do you think they took Dad to the doctor? Duct tape. Dirt.
Mercury. Or did we get past? We graduated past mercury. For treatment.
Cocaine, heroin,
yes.
cocaine.
Oh, the reason Jessica's saying that is eventually we will get to today's situation, but we have so many things to talk about. First of all, while we were on the Pearl Harbor episode, I'm really disappointed in us. You guys, that was 50. That was our 50th episode, publishing our 50th.
Was it really?
It was number 50, and we did not make a big deal about it.
Grandpa.
But 50.
No, we made a big deal about Grandpa.
Yeah, well, I kind of, when we were organizing it and planning things, I kind of purposely was trying to get that to be number 50.
Shut up. You did not.
Yes, I did.
What?
I did.
For
because
all those that you believe that Ingrid thought back 50 weeks ago and was
I'm not 50th. Saying 50 weeks ago. I'm saying when we were at like number 40, I was thinking, 50 is a big deal. What could we make our 50th episode be? Dear God, I didn't do that 50 weeks ago. You're insane.
That's what I was saying. It's exactly what I was saying.
Well, all right. So skipping past that because Jessica is whatever. To our California vacation, we got to tour Jack London's
State Park,
his home, his almost home, his works of art, his quotes,
his museum,
his
wife, Palace,
the Pig Palace, his wife Charmian, who is amazing. We actually may end up doing a Jack London Charmian episode.
Ooh, we should. I don't think enough people know about them.
So
I surely didn't.
Yes, I don't want to get too much into it. But
going back to the cocaine and heroin, so he read one of the things, and one of the things that Jack London died from was mercury poisoning, because that was one of the solutions for back in the day for a medical treatment, as was cocaine for gum pain and heroin, toothaches, and heroin for body pain, I think, right? Or headaches.
Yes.
Was it? Okay, yeah.
And what was for nausea?
Oh gosh, I don't know. Something that should be. It definitely was not ginger.
No. Opium.
No, it was. Opium was on the list for something.
Okay.
It was like all like hard narcotics that you should not take readily.
On top of alcohol, because he was a big drinker as well.
Yeah. Very happy life though.
Okay. So anyway, that's where Jessica got the cocaine heroin thing from. But that's all we'll share with you. I'm not alluding
to our side habits.
That's all we're going to share with you, because I think that would be a great episode. I agree. Was completely nerding out. I was super excited. And Jessica made fun of me because
I'm so excited.
That was my quote for like the whole weekend. I'm so excited. I was excited about everything. We went to one of the oldest winery in Napa Valley, the Charles Krug Winery. And that was really exciting.
That was really interesting. They were bought over by the Mondavi family, but the Mondavi wine that you see in the store is not the good oldest wine. It's still called Krug.
Yes,
Charles
because
Krug.
there were brothers. There was Robert Mondavi and Peter Mondavi. And Peter and Robert both had a hand in the Charles Krug Winery. However, Peter wanted to stay true to it.
Peter was a winist. Like he was a creative.
He wanted to stay true to the winery, whereas Robert Mondavi was oh my God. Is there a delay, or you just like to interrupt me?
No, I want to interrupt so bad because I don't think you're going to tell the story right. Because when we talked about it in the car, you had the history so wrong.
Because I didn't pay attention.
Like, we have to correct you.
But I didn't, because I didn't pay attention to Rico.
So you paid attention to me in the car?
I did.
Okay.
I did.
All right, I'll shut up then. I'll shut up.
So Robert was the marketing guy, and that's why Robert Mondavi wine is more popular, and you've heard of it more often because he was the marketing dude.
Whereas like the Charles Krug wine, that is a person and a family doing that wine. So the taste, oh my gosh,
so good.
It's so different. Like our taste buds are so spoiled.
Speaking of personal touches on wine, Rob... What?
Oh, yeah.
Rob and Laura Schurmeister.
Schurmeister. Amazing. And Eli.
And two cats that we didn't get to meet. But their wine is absolutely amazing. Rob makes it completely by himself. Laura does all the background work.
Everything else.
Everything else, right? That is the only winery that we went to where Jessica, our mom, and myself, all three joined the wine club. It's super good. And what was really sweet, we went there the day before our mom's birthday. Our mom's birthday was on Sunday. And we were talking about that. And after, Rob asked our mom, what's your favorite wine out of the tastings? And she told him, and he went and he grabbed a bottle. Laura signed it, Rob signed it, and then they put a little paw print for Eli.
Eli's their dog.
Eli's their dog. And they gave it to our mom. They took a photo with us. If you are on social media, that photo is posted on our Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook pages, our accounts. And we love their wine. It's really, 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 really good. So also, if you are on our social media, and if you've looked at any of our photos in the pictures from the latter parts of our vacation, I'm not crying. I had incredibly horrible allergies, which apparently is a thing in Northern California that I was unaware of. But they actually got to the point of my eyes being almost swollen shut.
Your eyes look much better now, though.
They're still red. Can you see?
Yeah, I can see a little red, but they're not like swollen.
All right.
Anyway, so it was a great trip.
That was a lot of talking before we get to more talking. Thanks for enduring. And here's Jessica. Here's Jessica.
So, fun fact, guys, I had to handwrite my notes to this time, so you're going to hear a lot of paper rustling. My apologies. Alice! I apologize. So, this session is going to be about the Boston Tea Party, which the quotes were actually about the incidents that
episode or session?
Episode. Okay. So the Boston Tea Party occurred. Oh, okay. Wait, the info I got was majority from the History Channel. I got a little, or history.com. I got a little from Wikipedia. And I can't say actually I just got ideas from Wikipedia. I didn't really get research from there, but the majority of everything was from history.com, like 20 different websites on the Townshend Acts, the Boston Tea Party, the Boston Massacre, the Stamp Act, the First Continental Congress, Sons of Liberty. So those are all different web pages on history.com that I got. The Boston Tea Party occurred on December 16th, 1773. Hence why we're covering it in December. And it occurred at Griffin's Wharf in Boston. Colonists were mad at the British for taxation without representation and dumped 342 chests of tea imported by the British East India Company. So in 1760, Great Britain was in debt. Do you want to know why they were in debt? They were in debt because of the French and Indian War. And they were in debt of the French and Indian War because they wanted to defend the colonists that were in the United States. So since they were so much, I'm sorry, I'm going to say so a lot. So since they were in debt, they decided, hey, how about we tax the colonists? Because arguably, and it was like quote unquote, arguably, the colonists were living a much higher lifestyle than the people in Great Britain. And also, the people in the United States were getting, or it wasn't the United States then, but the people in the new colony were getting taxed 1/20% of what the actual British and Great Britain were getting taxed. So all this money is coming from Great Britain to defend the colonies. Now Great Britain's in debt, and so they decided to put on these taxes. So the first one in 1776 was the Stamp Acts of, 1765. And the Stamp Acts, which I actually thought it was on stamps, like to mail. I don't think the post office was around in 1765. But anyways, so the tax was actually on every single piece of printed paper, like anything you printed, any, like whether it was a brochure, a pamphlet, the Bible, I don't know, whatever you wanted to print, there was a tax on that. Next one was the Townshend Acts of 1767, which taxed paint, paper, glass, lead, and tea, which went into effect November 20th, 1767. So the Townshend Acts, Shend, like there's Shend, was named after Charles Townshend, who was the British Chancellor of, I don't know how to say this word, it's like Exchequer, Exchiquer.
Quidditch.
Expecto Patronum. Okay, so this taxed goods imported to America, and colonists saw it as an abuse of power, and so the British sent troops to enforce the laws. Benjamin Franklin actually chimed in and said that the colonies would start making goods rather than paying the import. So the British saw the acts as a way to remodel the colonial government. So their plan was to use the revenue inputted from all the taxes by paying salaries of the colonial governors and judges, ensuring British loyalty, like almost like paying them off, like, hey, your money's coming from us, so you better make sure that they stay loyal to us. So, I'm sorry. So Charles Townshend died in 1767 in September suddenly, and he didn't get to see the impact of his act, which is a shame because it was a huge freaking impact. Oh, goodness, guys. So Declaratory Act of 1760 acts actually happened in 1767, 1 year after. So the Declaratory Act of 1766 stated that Parliament had the same authority to tax colonies as Great Britain, hence the Townshend Acts, and they can tax anything. 2 documents were circulating around America, boycotting the British. They were quote unquote letters from a farmer in Pennsylvania. It was essays written by Pennsylvania legislator John Dickinson. So I bet they were a really good read. So
any
feel free
relation to
look
Charles Dickens? That's Dickens. That's not Dickinson. Skip that.
You're so pretty.
Yeah. Even with these red swollen eyes.
Swollen. And then there was also the Massachusetts Circular Letter, which was written by none other than Samuel Adams and James Otis Jr. So speaking of Samuel Adams, I'm going to get into the Sons of Liberty, which I did I allude to them at all? No, I'm pretty sure I didn't. The Sons of Liberty were a secret society of American businesses that helped coin the phrase taxation without representation. So some of these members, they're all, secret people, but Benedict Arnold was one, Patrick Henry, Paul Revere, Samuel Adams, and John Hancock were reportedly Sons of Liberty. So they also, 24 towns in Massachusetts, Connecticut, and Rhode Island agreed to boycott the British goods in January of 1762. That's a really, I don't know. I don't know what their handwriting is. For 1 year, aside from necessities. And the examples of the necessities were fishing hooks and wire. So we were fishing like along the coast, we are a fishing community. So then New York City, or the state of New York, followed in April of 1768. 6, don't know what the number is. I think it's an 8. Might be a 2. I don't know. So there was many protests and boycotts. British soldiers were sent to occupy Boston, and it said quell the unrest, but I wrote soothe instead. I was like, I don't want to use the word quell. Like they were trying to soothe the unrest. So in 1769, more than 2,000 troops were in Boston to restore order. And there was only about 16,000 people that lived in Boston. Anyways, so skirmishes between colonists, as well as loyalists to protect taxes and patriots. They would, let me start that over. Skirmishes between colonists happened between the British soldiers and the Loyalists to protest taxes. And the Patriots, oh my goodness, they were also called Whigs. It's like in one article I was reading, it was like, oh, the Whigs party decided to do this. I was like, who the hell are the Whigs? The Whigs are the Patriots. Okay. So to protest taxes, Patriots, aka Whigs, would vandalize stores selling British goods and intimidate store merchants. So things came to a head on March 5th, 1770, when British soldiers shot into an angry mob, killing 5 colonists. This was the Boston Massacre. Side note, on the same day as the massacre, the Prime Minister of Great Britain, Lord North was his name, asked Parliament to repeal the Townshend Acts. So all of them ended up being repealed in April 1770, except for the tax on tea, which leads up to the Boston Tea Party. So this happened, the Boston Massacre happened on King Street in Boston, and it began as a street brawl between colonists and one British soldier. Another thing is that pre-Boston Massacre on February 22nd, so the Boston Massacre was March 5th. This is February 22nd. Patriots attacked a Loyalist store. Customs officer Ebenezer Richardson lived near the store and tried to break up the mob. I'm so sorry, you guys. My kids colored on this paper. Who tried to break up the mob who were throwing rocks. So Mr. Ebenezer Richardson fired a gun through the window of his home, and he killed an 11-year-old boy named Christopher Sider. Several days later, another fight broke out because local workers and soldiers, and there was no serious bloodshed. No one died. So the Boston Massacre. Private Hugh White was the only guard outside the custom house on King Street watching the king's money, and angry colonists started insulting and threatening him. So White fought back and he hit a colonist with his bayonet. Colonists began throwing snowballs, ice, and stones. Bells started ringing, which usually meant fire, sending more male colonists into the streets. So White fell and called for reinforcements. So then his reinforcements was Captain Thomas Preston, who had one of the comments quotes at the beginning of the episode. And he arrived with several soldiers and took up a defensive position in front of the custom house to defend the king's money. So some colonists begged the soldiers not to fire because they could feel like that trepidation that something really bad's about to happen, and others dared them to shoot. Preston said a colonist told him they planned to carry off White and murder him after the fact. Yeah, so there was a good reason for the soldiers to defend White and the money. Colonists struck soldiers with clubs and sticks. Reports are inconsistent as to what happened next. Supposedly, someone yelled fire, and a soldier fired his gun. It is unclear if the shot was intentional or not. Once the first shot went, other soldiers fired, killing 5 colonists, including Crispus Attucks, Samuel Gray, who was a rope maker that had a hole the size of a fist in his head. Sailor James Caldwell was hit twice before he died. Samuel Maverick and Patrick Carr were mortally wounded. Within hours, Preston and the soldiers were arrested and jailed. John Hancock and Samuel Adams encouraged the fighting. British troops retreated from Boston to Fort William. So it was kind of crazy about the situation, which helped fuel the fire for the Boston Tea Party, is supposedly Paul Revere etched an engraving which had British soldiers murdering colonists. The Brits were made to look like instigators, even though the colonists started the fight. Soldiers appeared to look like vicious, angry men, and the colonists were engraved to look like gentlemen. But actually what happened, supposedly, Paul Revere copied the engraving of Boston artist Henry Pelham. And that's actually one of the pictures that we'll put up on our Instagram. And you can see like the Boston soldiers just like look angry and mean. And it looks like the colonists are like, oh no, hands up, please don't shoot me, which is actually not the true story. So John Adams was actually the soldiers' defense attorney. Like John Adams, former president of the United States, was the British soldiers' defense attorney, and he wanted a fair trial. Like, he made sure the jurors were not from Boston. He created reasonable doubt by a testimony of someone saying that they heard fire come, like the quote unquote, the word fire come from behind them while they were standing next to Captain Preston. So that way it was like Captain Preston definitely did not say fire because I was standing next to him and I heard the word fire behind me. So Preston was found not guilty. The rest of the soldiers claimed self-defense and were found not guilty of murder. 2 of them, Hugh Montgomery and Matthew Kilroy, were found guilty of manslaughter, and they were branded on their thumbs as first offenders per English law. So I don't know what that brand looks like, but there's a brand on your thumb.
Their punishment for manslaughter is just getting branded?
Getting branded on their thumbs, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, no jail time, just being branded.
Cool.
So Crispus Attucks, I mentioned him in the beginning, and this guy is pretty actually important. So he was a whaler, he was a sailor, he was a docker, and he was of African. Well, it's mixed. It's mixed reviews on what his actual heritage was, but most commonly, he's referred to as being of African and Native American descent. He was the first American killed in the leading up to, or what historians say is the American Revolution. It is actually a question of whether or not he was a free man or an escaped slave, because there's a document saying that from a white man living in, I think it was Massachusetts, that his called him like Crisp At, or it abbreviated his name, escaped from my farm. I don't know what to call it. Escaped from whatever. And it was an escaped slave. But Crispus Attucks Attucks was also thought to have gone by the name of like Matthew Johnson or something really common like that to help hide his identity. So no one really knows if he was actually free or if he was just an escaped slave. The papers referred to him as mulatto in color and genealogy. Nope, that's still not the word. What is it called? Like, what's your background? What's your
Ethnicity?
Ethnicity. So his ethnicity it's only actually ever written as mulatto, but we'll also put a picture up there on what he's believed to look like, which is actually, it looks like a mix of Native American and African American. And he was actually an icon of the anti-slavery movement in the mid-19th century, which is pretty cool. And he died, he was about around the age of 47. No one quite knows his age because, birth records back then were really rough. So 1858 is also called Crispus Attucks Day. Or Atticus. Oops, I just went to Kill a Mockingbird on you guys. Attucks, Crispus Attucks Day. So Attucks in a Native American tongue, which is Narragansett, means deer. So and there's also a Crispus Attucks Middle School in Houston. There's a bunch of schools actually named after him. There's a bunch of monuments, and he's really important because he is identified as the first American to die in the American Revolution. So that's why he is so important. Also, to move on with him, Stevie Wonder in 1976, in his song Black Man, wrote the lyrics, "First man to die for the flag we now hold high was a black man." I'm going back to the Boston Tea Party right now. Okay, so that happened. The Boston Massacre happened. There's all these taxes, these acts happening. And then this is some other just general knowledge that is really helpful to know and that the British government knew. So the colonists drank 1.2 million pounds of tea each year, which is insane.
That's a lot of tea.
Oh my God, it's so much tea. So to counteract some of these acts,
can you say how much again?
1.2 million pounds of tea a year.
I'm just thinking
I don't know the amount of people in the colonies at that moment, but
I know they didn't have like tea bags. Did they have tea bags back then? Or it's like what, an ounce?
In a tea bag?
Yeah.
Not even. It can't be an ounce. It's probably like 0.1 of an ounce in a tea bag because it's so light. Maybe 0.2 of an ounce. Those of you that experimented with herbs, an ounce of herbs is a pretty significant size.
Oh, yeah. See, you can tell I did not
drink tea in college. I told you about how they like boycotted the Loyalists who were selling it and who boycotted everything. So they also smuggled in Dutch tea, which was not brought in by the East India. Oh my good Lord, British East India Company. So by smuggling in the Dutch tea, they left the British East India Company with millions of pounds of surplus tea. And they were on the verge of bankruptcy. Yeah. Straight up, like the man is going to bring down the business. So in May 1773, British passed the Tea Act, which allowed the British East India Company to sell tea to the colonies duty-free, so no tax, and for cheaper than the Dutch tea. But they still were able to tax it when it reached the colonies. So say I'm a businessman in America and I sell tea and I go to Britain and I buy this tea duty free and I don't have to, pay a tax or whatever. And it's cheaper than buying it from the Dutch place. So when I get to America, hey, I'm selling y'all's tea. I'm going to sell it to you guys. Oh, I'm getting taxed for selling it to you, so I have to sell it at a higher rate.
Are the consumers also getting taxed on it, or it's just
the consumers supplier? Actually aren't getting taxed on it, but they're feeling the pressure from the sellers because of the higher import tax.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Because okay.
Yep. Okay, so the Sons of Liberty, which I discussed earlier, they protested at Griffin's Wharf when the arrival of the Dartmouth came, which is a British East India Company ship that was also traveling with his sister ships, the Eleanor, and another name that I'll bring up later. So oh my gosh, just one sentence down. So by December 16th, 1773, Dartmouth was joined with sister ships Beaver and Eleanor. All three were loaded with tea from China. So there was a meeting at the Old South Meeting House in Boston where colonists voted to refuse to pay taxes on the tea or to allow it to be unloaded, stored, and sold or used. So either we're not going to buy it, or we're going to take it, we're going to store it, and it's going to be fine, and we'll store it for a while, or we're just going to take it, pay the taxes, and use the tea. So they were all voting on that. Governor Thomas Hutchinson, which was really weird because it said that he was a governor of Boston and not of. So I think I think they use the terms differently. So he refused to allow the ships to return back to Britain, and he ordered his people to pay the tax and that the tea should be unloaded. The colonists refused. The governor provided no compromise. So reportedly, it's not confirmed, the Sons of Liberty disguised themselves as Native Americans, boarded the ships, and threw 342 chests of tea into the water after splitting the chest open to ensure the tea was exposed to the water. Like, they didn't just, they were straight up vicious. Like that, I don't want that stuff to bob. Like, I want the water to get into the tea and ruin it. So George Hughes, who was a Sons of Liberty participant, I don't know how he was found out, but he was found. And he said, "We were surrounded by British armed ships, but no attempt was made to resist us." It took almost 3 hours for more than 100 colonists to put the tea into the Boston Harbor. So every time I learned this in history class as a child, I assumed it was like within like a 5-minute kind of span, you know? Yeah, you're muted, so no one can hear you. Right?
So yeah, like they dumped it and ran away.
Exactly. Like in the dead of the night, they did it stealthily and so it took over 3 hours, and the chests held more than 90,000 pounds of tea, which would cost more than $1 million in today's money. So that would,
my God,
get some attention. That would get some attention. Okay, so this happened, and this goes more into the aftermath. So George Washington, our first president, he publicly he supported it, but personally he did not approve, and he expressed disappointment of destroying the tea, and he called Bostonians quote unquote mad. Like, the mad Bostonians destroyed the tea. Like, that's what he would say personally, but like publicly he's like, yay. But also he had lands that were used. He was getting a benefit from the British government, so it was a benefit
because
to him.
He was a politician, right?
That the British stay in control. Yes. Like he had, he had some kind of benefit for it. Benjamin Franklin said the British East India Company should be reimbursed for all the tea, and he offered to pay for it himself. Yes, which is crazy because back in the day, like previously, I don't know if you remember me saying this, but Ben Franklin, it was one of the people that said, hey, you know what? Let's not rely on England for the goods that we need. Let's just make them ourselves, like to try to promote independence. But now, I mean, maybe it was just like a moral compass for him that he's like, guys, I was kind of effed up. Like, we shouldn't have done that.
Well, right, because it's not necessarily just the government that you're screwing over when you do something as vast as that. You have all of the people who go into production and harvesting and shipping.
And the sailors, exactly. And actually, like, the Dartmouth was an American ship. So it's like Philadelphia. Oh, speaking of Philadelphia, it's like Philadelphia, like when they won the Super Bowl and like they destroyed their own city.
You seriously can't get past the football theme.
No.
Okay.
Nope.
Carry on. Mm-mm. Boston. tea parties?
Carrying. So most participants were were under the age of 40 and 16 were teenagers. And the participants refused to identify themselves or other people, even years after the fact, because I thought, yeah, the Sons of Liberty were so tight. They're like, no, I'm not gonna snitch. So I thought that was cool. So then King George III, who was in control over in British land, Great Britain, he passed the coercive acts, which, come on, can we get a better name than coercive acts?
Nothing
which
like
are
coercion
also,
to get your way.
Oh, no, they're also known as the intolerable acts. King George passed these acts, whatever you want to call them. And these acts closed the Boston Harbor. They ended the Massachusetts Constitution and ended free elections of town officials. They moved judicial authority to Britain and British judges, and they required colonists to allow British troops to stay in their houses on demand. They also extended freedom of worship to French and Canadian Catholics, which pissed off all the Protestants.
And this is the precursor to the Revolutionary War.
This was after the Boston Tea Party. And yes, so I have like 2 paragraphs left, and that's the end of this. Colonists saw this as tyranny. And then there was actually a second Boston Tea Party in March of 1774, where 60 Bostonians boarded the Fortune and dumped 30 chests of tea. This encouraged other tea dumpings in Maryland, New York, and South Carolina. After this, the First Continental Congress convenes on September 5th, 1974. 1774. All colonies except Georgia were there, and they adjourned in October of 1774, and they had written the Declaration and Resolves, which is not like our Declaration of Independence, which the Declaration and Resolves called for repeal of the coercive acts, boycotted British goods, declared colonies to govern themselves independently, and they agreed to form and train their own personal militia. So then within months after the First Continental Congress met and adjourned, then the quote unquote shot heard around the world in Concord, Massachusetts started the American Revolution. The end. Well, the beginning, but the end.
Wow. So I actually surprisingly knew quite a bit of that. But it's not because I remember it from any of my own education. It's because my 4th grader just learned all about this. And
really?
Yes. And the class had to decide if they were going to be a loyalist or a colonist. And I asked him, they didn't call it colonists. It was loyalist or
Patriot, Whig?
Maybe Patriots, loyalist or patriot. Mm-hmm. And he aligned himself with the Loyalists, and which was very surprising to me. And I asked him why. And he said, because it was that, Great Britain just came off of this war, and they were the powerhouse defending the new colonies. And how can they defend the new colonies without the financials to back it up? And, America was new and couldn't do it on their own. So it was a good argument. So I was proud of him for coming up with that conclusion based on, just not just choosing something, but actually like thinking it through.
Thinking about it. So do you choose a side? I'm not going to say my side yet. Do you choose a side?
After hearing your presentation, I would say loyalist, which is really
why?
Which is
surprising.
Really surprising for me because I'm very I'm not anti-government, but I like them to be as least involved in life as possible. But I think because of the fact that, again, America is a new colony or new group of colonies and doesn't have its own judicial system set up, doesn't have its own defense system set up, doesn't have anything in place, and really doesn't have any I mean, obviously, I'm getting proved wrong here because the Declaration of Independence is coming up, and the Revolutionary War is coming up, and all of that's coming up. So there actually is, intelligent people there and leaders there willing to take charge. But without knowing all of that, I would probably have thought, no, we need them.
I didn't ask for your political stance. I asked where you stood.
No, but I mean, isn't that kind of it though? Like you have to have a political view to figure out how you stand. I think it's a gigantic waste of money.
I think you have to have like a general version of right and wrong, I think, to see where you stand.
Oh, well, right and wrong. I mean, 100%, it was wrong for them to dump the tea. If you're just looking right and wrong, that's
no.
Yeah. So for political reasons, I think I would align. Surprisingly, I would say I'd lean more toward the Loyalists because, again, it's a new civilization, more or less, and you need the assistance from the government to help get yourself established. Yeah. You need rules. You need protection. Mm-hmm. You need your freaking tea, apparently. I mean, that's a lot of tea that they're consuming.
Actually, like, how many people drink tea now?
I do. I like tea.
Well, I mean, I do too, but like, we don't have like tea time, like in Britain.
But, like, even if you took that out, the fact that they dumped $1 million worth of tea and made sure that it was ruined. Mm-hmm. And again, that's not just an act against the government. The government's going to be like, yeah, this sucks, and we're really kind of pissed off that you're rebelling against us. But it doesn't hurt the higher ups. It hurts all the people below.
The immediate, yeah.
So the same kind of people like your equal over in Great Britain is who you just hurt. Like you feel like you're barely scraping by.
No, they were American ships. They hurt fellow Americans.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it hurts everything. And that's why, definitely take a stance for when you don't agree with government and don't let government run over you.
Taxation without representation.
But I think you have to take into account who, like, if you're going to be destructive with something, or if you're going to boycott something, who are you really hurting?
Right. Like when you riot against your own city, who are you really hurting? Well, that's the story of how our country was made. And I have to admit, like, we just sounded like a bunch of spoiled little brats that were pissed that we couldn't live our happy-go-lucky lifestyle and we're being held responsible for things.
I have to admit, we still sound like that.
As a nation, yeah, probably.
Yeah. Okay, let's end this because goodness gracious.
Yeah, so don't throw tea and the water.
Wait, bees. Do bees.
Oh, be a tea drinker.
That was the first one I wrote down.
Was it really?
Yes. Be moral.
I like it. Be loyal to yourself.
Seriously, that was the second thing I wrote down.
Shut up! That's crazy.
It was just be loyal. It was all of that.
Oh,
be educated.
Okay, that's it. All right. Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye. If you would like to reach out to us or submit your situation, please contact us at anothersituationpodcast@gmail.com or find us on Instagram at Another Situation Podcast. We're also on Facebook at Another Situation.
Another Situation is produced and edited by Point 5 Pinoy. Music is written and performed by Tim Crow.